Second and two. Playing against two high safeties in second and two. It looks like the Chiefs scouting reports telling them, and like a lot of teams, that second and short is a good opportunity to take a shot. We also know that the Niners are a little bit more conservative with their play calling than that. They're not the biggest shot team in the NFL. Definitely a little bit more of a ball control. We're happy to run the ball and pick up first on second and two kind of team. So the Niners come out with this little zone misdirection play, which is basically a counter action, but we're only running zone with the offensive front, and we're running the counter with the tight end and the fullback. That's, again, one of the advantages of being in 21 personnel. You have versatility in the run game. It makes me think a little bit of the Patriots. The Patriots, back in the late 2000s and early 2010s, were really big on the tight end fullback run game, and they could wham block with the fullback from the backfield and chop a nose. They did some creative things with the tight end and fullback week to week. They really dug into the run game the way that modern NFL teams kind of try to split the atom when it comes to the pass game concepts against particular coverages. Football in general, as well as the NFL, has kind of moved a little bit towards simplifying the run game a little bit and just running the same plays against the same fronts over and over, and diversifying the pass game a little bit. The Patriots and now the Niners are teams that have made sure that they continue to split the atom in how they run the ball. So right now, essentially what they're doing is they're running zone to the right with their offensive line. And you can kind of see by some of the angles that they take that it's meant to look like zone. It's not zone. You can see left tackle Trent Williams really down blocking this guy. But realistically, it's meant to look like inside zone going that way. You can see the steps of Christian McCaffrey are meant initially to look like it's going to be inside zone or maybe mid zone going to the right. They do this motion thing. Well, they'll go kick out the backside end, but essentially Kittle's motion, which is normally leading to split zone, is actually now him replacing the guard on counter. And he's going to go try to kick out. And now Juszczyk is going to make it look like it's zone lead going to the right. And then he is going to wind back and turn himself into the ream guy, or at least what I call the ream, the guy who's stepping up to the linebacker. And he is going to be the lead guy for McCaffrey. McCaffrey's going to try to fit inside of that. So kind of the opposite of the log block that we looked at on the previous play, where you kind of have to read that and things are spilling to the sideline. We now get the opportunity to try to fit inside, right? So let's look at this from the end zone view here. Right, the numbers work great here, right? You're going to kick out here, you're going to pull for there, or at least that's what it should be. Down, 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 down. I mean, this is going to work out good. Your numbers work really well here. And that's basically what you get. There's your kick out. Now, 51, we know when tackle goes away, the Chiefs are starting to squeeze over the top of this and try to spill it. He tries to. Kittle, who is an excellent blocker as a tight end, that's some of his lost value. Some of those things that a lot of fans don't think about, and a lot of people watching the game from the outside. And it's sometimes hard to evaluate if you're not truly breaking down, all 22 film play-by-play. Kind of lost value there. Kittle's an excellent blocker on the edge. He loves blocking. You can tell by the way he plays. Like he is theoretically beaten inside a little bit here, and there are a lot of tight ends in the NFL that would just kind of end up taking that guy where he wants to go. But you can see Kittle here turn him, like he's beaten inside there for a moment, right? 51 squeezing right there. Kittle has a problem. He resets himself and fights to get inside of that guy. He's such a physical player as a tight end. I personally think he's the closest thing in the NFL right now to what Tony Gonzalez was, 20 years ago, in the ability to act as a sixth blocker in a lot of different ways, as well as be an elite receiver down the field. Now you get Juszczyk on that fill like we just talked about, and now McCaffrey's going to look to fit inside of that, right? And that's kind of zone misdirection counter. Definitely a nice concept there. Also good to watch the backfield action right now. If you see Brock Purdy is going to open up like it's inside zone. Notice he's holding the midline of where the ball started. He's making it look like it's inside zone going to the right. He hands the ball off on the other side. At some point, you would imagine they're going to come back to a play action on this, and it's going to end up being a waggle coming out the other side if they notice that they're holding on to guys into the box, and now so something's going to release coming across the field or something. So just something to keep an eye on, and we'll see if we do see that later in the game. Only a gain of 3. Really good job by the front two guys here. Fighting the good fight. and really forcing this hit to be pretty tight. I would personally venture that if I had to critique this play, if I was Kyle Shanahan, I think the path from McCaffrey is a little bit wide here. Right, his aiming point is clearly wider than this, knowing that he's got to fit inside of these two things. There's a little bit of a mismatch here. And sometimes when you get into the more creative components of the run game, running a zone misdirection counter play, where you're running counter with only backfield action, working to the other side, the offensive line still all flowing to one direction, even if it's not truly zone. It's meant to be in the zone family, so to speak. Sometimes little things like back path get overlooked, and I don't know if it's a mistake, if it's just something on this play and they expected it to hit wider, or if McCaffrey's just wrong. But that is like if the hit here, realistically, knowing that this is going to squeeze down, has really got to be to A gap. So I would want his aiming point to be, at least initially after the counter, at the inside leg of the guard, or where the guard started, and then it's easier for him to fit inside. Right now, his path is definitely wider than that. He should be down the hash right now. He shouldn't be squared up that way. If he were down the hash, I think that cut would have been a little bit easier, personally. Again, I'm not trying to sit here and say that the 49ers made a mistake, but that's just some of the things that tend to get a little bit tougher to do when you're getting into the more diverse components of the run game.